I'm here representing CREST as the CREST ambassador, a large cybersecurity not-for-profit.
Okay, thank you all. Now we will go further about, let me ask my colleague, Dr. Adel, about your vision as a regulator, about how could we deal with such important technology, such as quantum and its influence or effect on the crypto world from your perspective.
Yes, crypto is for us, for example, in UAE, for last 2 years. We need to understand what is crypto, or like, let's say, introduction to crypto. Today we have something called crypto, and we have something called post-quantum computing. For us in the cybersecurity industry, this new technology is bringing a threat. This threat, to summarize it, in cybersecurity is a decryption of whatever is encrypted. And from our position as a cybersecurity expert, what we need to do, first of all, we need to understand what is quantum computing and what is post-quantum computing, and what is our involvement in each side. For us in UAE, honestly, we have a very clear roadmap about the quantum and the post-quantum, and I will explain it later on in the discussion where we are today.
Now we go to Mr. Stephen. What about your vision as one of the players in the market for the international market, and how could we introduce the quantum in our daily applications?
I think with quantum, it's often important to put some figures and dates on it. So when Moscow posited his theorem back in 2015 about by 2030, there was a 50% chance that there would be a successful quantum cyber attack. I think it's important to recognize that's only 5 years away. And we're sitting here talking about quantum and cybersecurity as if it's off in the future. So if you're a large organization, we're talking about the possibility of a government or a regulator of this happening inside the next 5 years. And I think if you look at NIST, NIST is essentially going to be depreciating RSA by 2030. It's going to be disallowing it by 2035. So even within this next 5 to 10 years, the basis of cybersecurity and encryption is going to be completely fundamentally changing. And I imagine outside of this room, nobody's aware of that. So I think one of the big challenges we actually have is cybersecurity is actually seen as a IT problem. It's not seen as a board level issue. It's not seen as a high level government or regulatory issue. So part of the biggest challenge at the beginning is communication. And I'll be happy to chat in a minute about how we can work as different organizations and companies across the world, because cybersecurity and cybercrime has no international boundaries. But to give you a very small example, the UK government has been investing billions of pounds since 2014 in quantum and quantum strategies and preparing for the future. And as a result of that, over 12% of all global private equity investment in the world in quantum happens in the UK.
And now go to Mr. Nash, because you are one of the business planners. From the perspective of introducing new technology in the market, we have to not only look at the technical part, we have to talk about the business model that we may have to introduce such technology, and how could it will be beneficial. As you know, the quantum is a very expensive solution, and how could we deal with to collaborate or have the correlation between successful business plan as well as avoiding some sort of huge amount of investment and no feedback to the investor himself.
Thank you. Yes, very good question, particularly the point about targeting investment appropriately. So BAE Systems obviously is the UK's premier defence and cybersecurity company. Quantum cryptography, there's three elements to what we do that touches on that. I think the first is we have a big advisory practice in the UK and to some extent globally that supports customers to become more cyber secure. So we see the post-quantum cryptography threat and developments as part of that holistic cyber defense work. So we have in fact developed a particular offering around quantum risk assessment that some of our customers are now asking for, but we tend to see it through that holistic lens. I guess the second element is obviously making sure that the products and platforms that we produce accommodate post-quantum technologies. Now, we are as much a consumer as a producer of those. So like everyone else, in some cases, we're waiting for certain protocols and standards to be finalized upstream because we're then a user of those alongside everyone else. But as part of our long-term planning, making sure that we've addressed that long-term threat, particularly for some of our very long-term platforms, which are maybe in service for far longer than your typical IT, so 30, 40 years in the case of a military platformer. And then I think the final element, as you say, it is about that investment. And as BAE Systems, we are not attempting to invest directly in the foundational quantum technologies that perhaps some of the larger technology firms are doing, but we are looking at quantum a lot more holistically. Our major focus is actually on some of the different but related areas, including quantum sensing, where you might have seen, obviously, the details are sensitive, but the fact that we're working on this is very widely publicized. So it's those three areas for us, and definitely a very key focus area for us.
Thank you. From the perspective that have been illustrated by Your Excellency, let me ask my colleague, Dr. Adel. Now you are working as a main advisor and near planner for the UAE in the field of cybersecurity and the prevention for such attacks. First of all, we have to think about what, all of us now, we are now in the International Year for Quantum Technology as announced by the UN. And now each country has to promote its strategic vision about the enrollment of such technology day after day in order to have complete transition. Let us listen to your vision about the roadmap from your perspective.
Yes, actually, what's happening in UAE, I just wanted to mention that 1 year ago, we were here. We was talking about quantum. And a year passed. I'm going to share what's happened within that year. Within UAE, we have two events for quantum computing, each one taking 3 days. It was talking about quantum computing in depth. So, as my colleague mentioned here earlier, we take like the people process technology, and within UAE, today we have already established company in post-quantum, and they are selling their products. In the same time, as a government, we are working in quantum or post-quantum policies. So the government need to enable the regulation in the industry for the post-quantum policies. I was lucky to be participating in that policy and reviewing it, and it has been taken for approvals before it goes public. Moreover, is the people. Now, in quantum or post-quantum, people need to understand what's going on in the industry, especially cybersecurity. So quantum is going to bring a threat. So what we need to do as cybersecurity, we are doing something called risk assessment. If you remember when IPv6 came to the market, right? As a country, we did a study. Where is the impact is going to happen? So we are studying let's say, the post-quantum algorithm where it's going to be applied. And we found a company, actually created a company within UAE which can close that gap, which is using NIST framework algorithm, which is coming post-quantum algorithm. And in UAE, companies start to make money from post-quantum. While we are here discussing what is post-quantum, people making business and putting all the necessary action in the floor to benefit from that industry.
Okay, thank you. And now let me introduce our Dr. Edmund Yirenkyi, Acting Director for the National Communication Authority from Ghana. And now you are welcome, and we are happy to be with you here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let me.
My apologies. I think
no,
I
no,
thought the
okay.
time was 3:30.
Yes, yes, the time schedule has been changed. Okay. Let me ask you from the perspective you are in Ghana regulatory body. Every technology, when you introduce it maybe in Ghana or in Egypt or in the UAE or in UK, you have to think about how to make the framework to engage such technology. So you are in Ghana. Do you have some strategic vision for engaging the quantum technology?
Okay, so thank you. We may not be as advanced as our neighbors may be, but we had a cybersecurity authority just established in 2020. Quite a fledgling entity. I work for the National Communications Authority, which is the regulator for the communications industry. But we've been tasked by cabinet to host, the Cybersecurity Authority, which is an independent entity from us. But then we have the sectoral sets for the telecom sector. And then we also sit on the joint cybersecurity committee, which is chaired by the Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority. So as of now, in respect of, post-quantum technologies, we are at the stage of developing capacity. It's really a challenge of ensuring that we have sufficient capacity. We're engaging with the universities, also are putting mechanisms to, build capacity for some of the staff, taking them on training programs to prepare them. Yeah, so as of now, there's a new administration in place. The government has tasked us, especially in protecting critical infrastructure and ensuring the security of government communications. There has been changes in the leadership, and the immediate step that we are taking is capacity building in this area. And then what would follow now would be a national strategy ensuring that, we are prepared for things in the future.
Now, can I ask you, Dr. Stephen, about we have to know, all of us know that quantum is introduced in 3 steps: post-quantum and the quantum key distribution, finally go further to the random generated quantum keys. From your perspective as one of the market main players, how could we think about the introduction and the influence of this post-quantum as a first phase on the existing infrastructure? Michael.
Thank you very much. I think we need to take a step back. I think people are rushing towards things. We've not got the accreditations. We said earlier, cybercrime respects no international boundaries. What we need to think about is how we can actually get a global response. So I was very interested in what Dr. Yirenkyi was saying, and His Excellency, and always Edmund, about the desire to build capacity. So CREST has been working with the UK Foreign Office, European Bank for Reconstruction Development, and the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs. And they've helped develop capacity in cybersecurity in 14 countries, and BAE Systems have been a mentor apart from that. Now, across those 14 countries, one of the things that we often forget is as you move towards a digital economy, you need to provide good quality, affordable, local cybersecurity. And I think one of the things we often get fixated on is when we're talking about quantum, we're talking about quantum computers breaking cybersecurity, so encryption vulnerabilities. But if we take a few steps back, a large organization in Egypt, for example, will have a huge number of third-party suppliers. So there's no point in being quantum secure if you're the large organization with 4,000 third-party suppliers who don't even have basic cybersecurity hygiene, because it means you're incredibly vulnerable. And I think organizations like CREST, what they try to do is twofold. One is work with over 40 governments and regulators around the world to create some kind of global standards which everybody can agree on, instead of everybody reinventing something different, which makes it difficult to compete in different markets. And the second aspect is working to build capacity inside countries so that those countries can actually have their own levels of cybersecurity. So I wrote a big report for the British government before I retired, which they kindly named after me. And one of the things that we demonstrated in that is, even though we're one of the most digitized economies on the planet, most companies that are classed as small to medium-sized enterprises do not have basic cybersecurity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in the United Kingdom, 99% of all companies are classified as small to medium-sized enterprises. So that gives you an idea of the scale of the challenge inside one of the most digitized economies on the planet, where the Office of Budget Responsibility has said a successful cyber attack would cost 1.6% of UK gross domestic product. 1.6%. Now, we spend just over 2% on our armed forces, to give you an idea of the tens of billions of pounds that will cost. So I think, going back to the question, often we need to take a step back and think, as His Excellency was saying, about a roadmap, a plan, a strategy. How do we take everybody with us, instead of just securing some bits up here so we can tick a box and it's job done? So we have to build the capacity inside those nations.
Let me go to Dr. Nash. Let me ask about the possibility of deployment of the quantum. You know, one of the major obstacles in quantum deployment is the chronology, because the chronology needs so cool or super cooling system. And this is one of the main obstacles that day after day it will be solved. But from your experience in UK, do you think that the supercooling technology will be a successful strategy for the quantum deployment, or it will we have to think about further techniques, looks like trapped ion technology or annealing technology?
Thank you. I actually used to work on highly supercooled systems in a former career when I was a biochemist. So whilst I don't have specific knowledge of how that's implemented for quantum computers, I'm spent many an hour working with large, noisy, potentially hazardous cooling systems. And I think wherever you see this kind of challenge in a particular technology, it then becomes very limiting, because we've all become very used to this software-defined world where things just scale. And obviously, that's the scalability of technology in the cloud has enabled AI and so on. I think there's possibly some assumption that things like quantum computing will scale in the same way, but you do, as you said, you do come across these physical limits that actually then run at the speed of physics rather than the speed of software, and that becomes much harder. And there's quite a debate going on about this in the UK. So about 4 weeks ago, the UK National Cybersecurity Centre published quite a long article with various technical advisories embedded in it about how to advising organizations about the roadmap to post-quantum. And they basically said it's going to take 10 years. And there was then quite a response in the press that said, oh, you should halve that. It needs to be much faster. And I think actually it's actually going to be economics really, rather than physics or computer science that will determine that. Because as you know, as we know, you can buy a very limited form of quantum compute capacity today, but we certainly don't see that really as a cyber threat to most people at the moment. That's not to say it won't be. One of the things we do, and as I mentioned, the lens through which we see this is we track, for about the last 12 to 15 years, we've been tracking hundreds of cyber threat actors around the world, and we look very carefully at the means that they use. If you step away from quantum-based threats, actually threats against all cryptographic mechanisms, they exist. I mean, there are successful attacks that have exploited that, but they're relatively unusual. So actually, even if you look at all the whole cryptographic landscape as a risk landscape, it's not actually what most organizations should be worrying about. This, however, does feel different, but I think it's all going to come down to the economics, and things like the supercooled systems will be part of that as well. Because ultimately the threat actors are not going to be building these things themselves. They'll just buy it. It's a market like everything else. Yeah.
Now go to my colleague, Dr. Adel.
Yes, I just want to add something for the audience. Today, quantum, where is the quantum? Where is it? What's happening as of today? It's in the cloud, right? Like if we were talking about AI, where is AI? AI is in the cloud. It's not in our premises, not in our region. But today, what's happening that in some country, they have the capability to bring AI to their premises, to their data centers. So bring things in. As of today, quantum computing, because of the requirement of whatever, like the temperature need to be like 300 or something Kelvin, whatever. It is in the cloud. It is not available for everybody. I mean, to build and to maintain. Some articles say that in Japan, for example, they managed to work or to run quantum on room temperature for a few seconds. This is something amazing. Yeah. Nobody can, you know. I was again lucky to meet IBM, and IBM, they built quantum cloud in Europe, and they asked me to access the system for 30 minutes. They said, you are interested, come try our quantum computing system. But I said, sorry, I don't have a use case myself. I don't have a use case today. All my use case in post-quantum. I'm thinking post-quantum. So quantum coming, somebody's going to use it usefully or badly. So what I need to prepare ourselves to fight the quantum itself. This is just something from my experience. I just wanted to share with the audience.
Yes. Now let me ask Dr. Edmund about this criteria, because if you have to go to post-quantum or a real quantum technology, you have at first, as we said before, you prepare your use case or your what's your roadmap that may be used. So I would need such technology, such a huge resources to be useful. In spite of the temperature limitation, the mechanical vibration effects, as well as the capacity building needs to quantify the knowledge of the users that who will use of such technology. From Ghana perspective, because Ghana, Egypt, and the United Emirates, we are suffering from high temperature, and it will be some sort of implementation obstacle in using on-prem solution. And the on-prem solution, as you know, is the best from the security point of view, because as my colleague mentioned, Dr. Stephen, if you have third party, you have no security. But we have to think about what about the Ghana vision, about the use case or the important use case, and we can pay a lot and suffer a lot to have our on-prem solution.
Yeah, sister, you are right. We we have similar, well, I don't know whether we have better climates because we are a tropical country. We don't have winter. We have we have
Summer.
summer all year round. Yeah. So yes, compensation for heat is, but like he mentioned, everything now boils down to the economics of it. We don't have presently, use cases that would. So we don't have a clear roadmap for this. And like I mentioned earlier on, the new administration in the country is primarily focusing on capacity building. The president recently launched a program, it is dubbed 1 million coders, but it's actually addressing digital skills development, key amongst it being cybersecurity. And the objective is to build a critical mass of expertise so that, there could also be homegrown solutions to some of these emerging issues and challenges. So yes, primary focus as of now is digital skills capacity building across the board, with also special emphasis on, cybersecurity expertise, both in country and also sending people out, where I know about 2 people who are out as I speak, or just going for training on specific things. Yeah, so what I'm confident of is before the end of this year, there will be more clarity in terms of some of the specific, and also assessments are going on. Like I said, it's a government that is barely 3 months old, and quite a number of appointments have just recently been made, and assessments are being made, especially on vulnerabilities across sectors. And that will crystallize in the long term in a national strategy that we hope to deploy, over the next 3 to 4 years. Yeah, so specifically as we speak, we don't have a clear roadmap towards adopting quantum or post-quantum cryptography.
Let me ask Dr. Stephen. As you know, the deployment of cryptography needs some sort of huge amount of computational power to break it. Quantum solution is one of the elected and the promising technology for such breaking systems. So, can you give us, from your large expertise, how could we use of the benefit of quantum and avoid its dangerous attacks on the concurrent or used cryptography or encrypted messages that may be used for banking system, for health insurance, for the daily life of the anybody in your country?
Okay, so I think I'll answer this in 2 parts. So the first is, I don't think we should be scared of quantum computing or AI. They have the opportunity to transform society in the same way that the combustion engine did. So when the combustion engine came along and effectively replaced horses as a mode of travel, nobody would have ever dreamed that that would lead to rockets delivering satellites in space, which would be the basis of telecommunications and what our digital economies are based upon. So I think we shouldn't be scared of these advancements. We should be thinking about the huge opportunities that they have to improve living standards around the world and lift lots of people out of poverty, and also enable lots of society to tackle a lot of the challenges it's actually got in terms of health and finding better ways to tackle some of the diseases around the planet. So there's lots of opportunities. Then the second part, which is the slightly scarier bit, is I think we have to recognize that you have no national security without economic security. And as Edmund said, you have to, both Edmund said, economics is the basis of what will drive these decisions. So I think what we have to do is we have to invest in capacity building. We have to invest in cybersecurity. You cannot have an AI strategy or a quantum strategy without a robust and resilient cybersecurity strategy, which protects the information that those organizations are going to use and manipulate. And for me, I'm very interested in cyber securing supply chains, because those supply chains are global, and organizations, large organizations like BAE Systems, they stand on the shoulders of tens of thousands of suppliers on every continent on this planet. So you have to cyber secure. You don't attack BAE Systems, you attack a third-party supplier who's already inside BAE Systems services. So that's why I like to be an ambassador for CREST, because CREST are out there trying to develop global accreditation standards, working with over 40 governments and regulators around the world to actually agree on a set of standards, and then work with different organizations to actually do cyber accelerated maturity programs. We call it CREST Camp. So cyber accelerated maturity programs that allow local organizations to come up to that level, because I think we protect ourselves by raising the bar, and we can only raise the bar by helping each other. Cybercrime respects no international boundaries, so we have to ensure that we collaborate.
Thank you. Now go to my colleague, Dr. Nash. As mentioned, Dr. Stephen, that and the question will be for you and also for my colleague, Dr. Adel. The principle of the quantum and its effect on the cryptology. Now we have to know that any cryptology can be breached by the quantum machines. And you know that the newly research developed, which is a hybrid processor, which is some sort of prototype to combine CMOS processors as well as integrated optic processor. This will enhance in the near future, maybe 5 or 10 years at most, to have quantum laptop, handheld device. So it will be, from my perspective, I don't know if you are agree or disagree with me, it will be, or it will need some new vision about the cryptology, because the man who is walking the street will carry handheld device, can listen, penetrate, attack, capture, and imitate another party. So we have to how to deal with such problem from your vision and from your vision. Please, Dr. Nash at first.
Thank you. Yeah, it does sound quite plausible that that kind of functionality might start to get introduced in the way that, 30 years ago, maths processors started to be introduced, and now, AI optimized chips are starting to be introduced. But I think in general, it's probably all about the life cycle management, because today there are more instances of ciphers being broken using conventional computers than there are of quantum computers. And a lot of that simply because there's still an awful lot of governments and companies using old deprecated standards out there. But let's not forget actually that although the science behind the maths is fascinating, a lot of the attacks are on the implementation rather than actually on the ciphers. Certainly if one thinks over the last few years, some of the high profile ones like Wi-Fi vulnerabilities, it's implementation based rather than on the cipher itself. So I think it's quite a wake-up call to everyone, industry and government, to actually just get better at managing the life cycle, yes, of cryptographic assets, but more for most people, that's going to be the platforms and the solutions which run on them. And we've probably all got a little bit complacent over the last 10 years when, AES was the answer to everything, that we could just sit there and let everyone else worry about it. I think looking to the point of my colleague, Dr. Edmund, about skills, I guess the purpose of all of these standards and protocols is that actually you shouldn't need lots of crypto specialists. One of my first roles at BAE Systems when I came out of academia was to set up what was then our in-house cyber academy. And one of my first students actually had a PhD in cryptography. And he warned me and said, do not talk about cryptography unless you've got at least 2 maths degrees. So I worry about that because my degrees were in natural sciences. But the point is you only need, and we were very privileged to have him, but you only need a very few people like that. There has to be someone in the country who can actually really understand this. 99% of the others are worried about the implementation because that's where all the vulnerabilities lie. The opportunity I see for the sector, and I think this goes for Egypt, particularly with your very strong IT sector, is to almost use this as a catalyst to drive security management life cycles throughout the supply chain.
Dr. Adel, please.
Yes, as my colleague mentioned here, I want to add, we do not have control over development in quantum, but already we know what to do in post-quantum. So we will not wait people to go around with a mobile quantum. No, we need to, the standard is there, it is getting mature, algorithm is there. We need to start deploying the recommendation, for example, from NIST framework. There is so many products today in the market. Again, we have to see it as opportunity, not as a risk. As a cybersecurity engineer, we can make our infrastructure overall more secure by using post-quantum algorithm to protect our infrastructures, full stop. So even what happened with the development on the quantum side, there is formula, there is a medication actually for the disease. So we have to start educate ourselves about what to do, where to do it, study our, for example, I'm talking about my country, study UAE as a government, where is the weak area, which area need to be improved, which area need to have a first priority, for example. If we are talking about healthcare sector, for example, for us it has a very high priority. And we can put a roadmap of enrolling post-quantum algorithm for our data center or infrastructure. Then even though if there's a development in quantum, we are putting the remediation already in the marketplace. But don't sit and wait, the quantum to come, then we start to react. We have to start from today. Actually, we started from last year. And if we are following the quantum development globally, they are saying that, for example, in the roadmap, it is not today, it is within the 10 to 15 years coming, we will see the impact in the industry. So why we need to wait this time to put our countermeasure? We have to be proactive. Let quantum threat come, and we're saying, for example, UAE is a post-quantum enabled nation. Check is done. So we will not wait this. This is the idea. Again, it is opportunity. For example, I don't think for example, in Africa, somebody is talking quantum as of now. But for example, Egypt can be a leading country in this topic, because if we make like seminar, training, understanding quantum in depth, even we are not contributing in the development of quantum technology, but we are contributing in understanding. So we can have like, I don't know, training, education related to the subject. So even if I Google quantum, I will see that, for example, Egypt is in the first place to visit for that domain. So for FDC, it is an opportunity. We are discussing for last 2 years. I think even if today we are in FDC 7, right? Maybe in FDC 17, we'll be talking the same quantum. We'll say we discussed this is 10 years ago.
Now let us, because we say that the time is running, so I will give each one of you, if you mind, 10 seconds just to sum up what's your vision in few words about the quantum and its relation to cryptography. Let us start with Dr. Edmund.
Okay, I just appreciate the views from my colleagues, and I like what you said. We shouldn't wait. And I think that for especially low middle income countries like ours who don't have very advanced, programs. It is important that we accelerate our plans towards capacity building, just so that we can, leapfrog and be on top of these issues as quickly as possible.
Dr. Stephen?
Thank you very much. Again, grateful to my colleagues for making the points they have. I'm a huge fan of capacity building. I think we need to increase capacity building, capability and collaboration, and it's on those economies which are more digitized and have more wealth to actually help the lower income economies to build their capacity and capability as well.
Dr. Adel?
For me, to the audience, at least if today you go home and you talk with your kids or your brother or your friend that about quantum computing and discuss the subject to make them aware that there is something, it is opportunity. I always think about opportunity. Whoever will be first in this market, my kids, for example, they will gain later on. So if we spread the word of quantum computing and advantages coming and letting us, our relative kids, industry or colleague know about it and how we can gain from it.
Dr. Nash?
Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to join this panel. I would just probably end by saying let's use the interest and the concern that we've all shared today as a catalyst to encourage customers, governments and suppliers to actually understand more about where this sits within cyber risk and to make the improvements that's going to benefit all of us.
Thank you all at the end of this panel. We are thanking the panelists, and we are hoping together to have some sort of collaboration, not only in the capacity building and also in the development of the algorithms itself. And I think so we have, as you know, I have here some sort of group for quantum developers, and we are working in the development of the algorithms. And but we, at the end of the day, we have to deploy this on a real machines. If we have the machines, we can test it very successfully and get the feedback. And I think so we all countries has to think about the deployment of such technology step by step. First of all, to have post-quantum, enlarge the capacity building, enlarge the idea of using such technology and emerging, and how could you make the roadmap to engage such technology in your applications day after day, because as you mentioned here, after 20 years or something, the quantum will replace the existing infrastructure as the existing GPUs replacing the legacy computers. So we have to think further, and I have to thank all of you and appreciate your coming. Thank you. By the way, for the audience, is administration here, we have some sort of